Infantry is killing it in the game right now, just killing it in the field. And with that, we're going to get the new commander next week in Bai Qi. And so we have done the testing. We have run through the simulator. We've seen the results from the Chinese servers, and we're going to tell you exactly how to run these things, how to run 3 marches, how to run 2 marches, different combinations. We're also going to give you early players some KVK1 and KVK2 pairings that you need to look at, and we're going to go through all this right here. Hello everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chadsky. I put out videos all the time. Absolutely all the time, videos and streams, having a lot of fun with this content, and can't thank you enough for watching the channel. If you like any of the videos that we have, be sure to like and be sure to throw a thumbs up on there. It really helps out the channel. And if you're not subscribed, we have pushed through 30,000 subscribers. We are growing the channel exceptionally fast. The community has been absolutely wonderful. And if you want to join that community, my Discord link is in the description. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, it does not cost you anything. And we will keep pumping out the content to help you become a better player. We want to give real rock life application to what you're doing. And so with that, we need to talk infantry because they are dominating. They are absolutely dominating, not just with the commanders they've released, but now with new formations. And let's go through it just a little bit, because we were stuck in this situation to where we were having to run a lot of Guan, and we were having to run a lot of Guan CPO, and they gave us Wallace, who is, I would say, not crazy meta, but he's really, really good with smite damage, and he has the smite talent tree, which has been really good. We even had situations where we were running Gorgo in the field, but some things kind of felt disjointed, and they needed an upgrade. Well, at the end of 2024, they gave us this guy. Ragnar has been a great addition to add to that skill damage, faction of infantry, and we've been able to run Ragnar with CPO, and that is a set it and forget it great march, one of the better ones in the game when it comes to open field. And what do they do after that? They give us the Pincer formation. This is the MVP of infantry. Just to let everybody know, this is what makes infantry go. This formation right here, with everything that it does. This was recently released in the game, and the developers told us they're going to have Pincer for smite. They're going to have another formation for combo. They're going to have another formation for skill damage. So they're going to be releasing these formations. And for those of us who are able to get the conversion stones, you can convert these armaments to different formations however you want. But this is what has made infantry really potent in the field, garrison, and rally. But we're going to talk about field, and this is wild. What this thing does to help enhance smite, you're automatically doing 10% more smite damage. Okay, when you get thundering, that's 10% boost to smite damage. Like, holy geez, what are we doing? It has basically made Arch obsolete for infantry. I'm just saying it. Especially in the field, you want to go Pincer all the time on your smite marches. That is what you want to do. That is how they've enhanced. It's almost like giving a steroid injection to the infantry smite commanders. And then on top of that, we are getting this guy coming into the game next week. We know what this guy does. We've been testing him like crazy. We've been watching some of the stuff on the Chinese server. We know how this is going to operate and run, and he is going to be out of control good. He's going to be a part of the best march in the game. The BQ Luce march will be the best march in the game for the time being. Okay, and so it is absolutely imperative that you infantry players get this guy. Okay, you've seen what my tier list is when it comes to the value of commanders and what you need to invest in. You've got Luce up there, you've got Philip up there. Well, this guy's going front and center. Okay, and obviously Arthur's up there as well on the cavalry side, but this guy is front and center. So let's talk about kind of all the different things. We know what this guy does in the game. We've talked about it at length. Massive 5-target AoE, a big 180-degree fan AoE, which is great. And he's got a chance to do 15% extra damage, 30% on each target. That's wild. Just crazy damage. He's got the march speed at 20%. He does a health bonus of 10%. He does an attack bonus of 40%. Those are just good buffs that you give to your own march. This is where it gets kind of nuts. The malice stacks are really cool. Basically what it is you have malice stacks, and as those malice stacks run to 20 and 30 and 40 and 50, whatever target you're hitting, if those malice stacks are more than the percentage of troops left in the march you're hitting, you're going to start firing off this 300 smite damage factor. You're going to make him take more sev wounds, and you're going to gain a little bit of a rage gain bonus. Well, it only lasts for 1 second, but that's okay because the cooldown's only 1 second. So if you are hitting marches, if you run your malice stacks up to 80 and you turn and hit a march with 30% of troops left, or 30% HP, we call it, then you're going to fire that thing off every other second for the next 5 or 6 seconds until that thing is dead. And while you're doing it, you're gaining more rage. So we're going to have to see how that works out even more in the field. I think it's crazy. You get a good normal damage bonus, which is good, a little bit of prickliness, but that also enhances his smite damage. And then also when you ramp up those malice stacks, you get 10 right when you enter combat. You get 10 for every 10% of troops you lose. So along with every active skill you run from the third skill, and once you enter combat, and now you add to it, every time you lose 10% of troops, you're adding malice stacks. You're just running those things up. And it allows you to do some crazy, crazy stuff. So this can run, this smite bonus as you lose troops can run up to 30%, okay, for every 10% of units it is missing. So that's what you're looking for when you run up the damage, and that coincides with his expertise. This is what's kind of cool about his expertise. He does a 6-second buff after he is down 50%. 6-second buff that does 60% more damage and takes 30% less damage after he is hit with 50% of HP. So you drop the troops lower than 50%, he gets this buff for 6 seconds. It's great. You drop it below 15%, okay, you're going to run it down. Then you get kind of a Leo effect here where you're just going to run up a ton of damage and you're going to get tankier for the next 6 seconds. By then you're dead and you've been able to grab enough value out of it. This top one doesn't really matter. This is extremely rare to ever inflict 400,000 sev wounds on the enemy units. It is so rare. You just can't do it. Plus, it just gives you a 5% normal damage dealt. That's not a big deal, but that's never going to happen. And in some of the massive murder balls I've run with, like my Attila Luce, I can never get to 400k sev wounds. That's just so hard to get to, even if you're just crushing it at 8-to-1 trades. You just can't get there. But this guy is gonna be potent and wild. Obviously, you've got Luce. This is what makes Luce still, even with BQ out, this guy is still crazy good. Set it and forget it. One of the most priority commanders in the game because this rage is so good. Plus his ability to work with commanders that do instant procs. Okay, we talked about that. He revived Alex. Luce Alex is still hammering it today. Okay, when you think about Philip as well, as a leadership commander, you put Philip and his instant proc. His instant proc is so good, y'all, where he does an AoE instant proc of 800 damage factor, and you reduce the rage by 100, and it only got a cooldown of 3 seconds. That's why Luce with Philip works so well. So you have all these different types of situations to run this stuff and to be able to do it with infantry. And a lot of people are asking me, what are we running with infantry? What are the best 2 marches? What are the best 3 marches? And they get in my Discord. It's a great place to go. Join the community. The Discord link is in my description. They'll ask questions in there like, hey, I've got these commanders. It depends on what commanders you have, what sets of gear you have, what armaments you want to work on. It all depends on what you have. But I will say this, I'm going to run through this and kind of give you guys an idea. And I'm going to tell you what the best infantry marches are, just straight up. Okay, so let me pull this up here. At the very top, you will see this. Okay, BQ, and if you have 3 infantry marches, because a lot of people are starting to run 3 now because you have so many commanders and the Pincer is so good. Let me tell you what this has done. We got ourselves in a situation to where Pincer is such a good formation that it has elevated William Wallace. Okay, so if you say, hey, I've got 3 marches I want to run with no Philip, all right, this is what you're looking at running. BQ with William Wallace, Luce with Alex, and Ragnar Scipio. And you want to try to run 2 Pincer formations over here on these 2, and then run your wedge formation on on Ragnar and CPO. That's because, and this is what people have to understand, when it comes to this game and when it comes to being able to lay out damage, I was fortunate enough to grab the Pincer on my second account. So I had this armament sitting right here, and I put it on my William Wallace, and I ran Wallace and Luce, and it far outperformed any other March I had. It was outperforming my Luce Alex. So a lot of people that say, hey, Luce Alex, and I totally understand that argument. Luce Alex and Wallace CP, or Wallace and Luce, they do about the same amount when it comes to your trades and the sev wounds and all that stuff. But now that the Pincer's out, that's not the case anymore. Since Pincer is geared towards smite damage, you want to run 2 smite commanders. That's how you want to do it. And I'm just telling you, Wallace with Luce far outperforms now Luce Alex. It just does. And that's what the Pincer formation does, because you're basically doubling up on the effectiveness of Pincer, because Wallace does big single target smite damage, and he's got a little AoE effect to it. Wallace has got this deal where he increases damage 40% if you ever do a smite or any kind of damage factor over 1,000. There's an 80% chance the damage will be increased by 40%. So you put him with a big damage dealer, then that makes that thing go. So the Pincer has made this thing a massive deal. So Wallace gets upgraded with Pincer. Okay, a lot of people didn't invest in him and really didn't need to, but now you got to, because Pincer has been such a good addition for infantry in the game. So when you look at this overall, this is what I would run, no questions asked. I would run 2 Pincers with Luce and Alex, and BQ and Wallace. I think BQ Wallace is going to be a crazy good March, and then you still have your wedge set with Ragnar. Okay. Now, this is what people say. If I have Philip, you just simply replace Alex with Philip. Luce Philip is better than Luce Alex. They both do pretty good as far as the trades. They're both about even. I think Luce Philip trades a little bit better because Philip is just so good. But what the main point is that if you have nowhere else to put Philip, you put him behind Luce, and you run off those instant procs more often. Plus, you're buffing everybody else. So I think this is a better March. That is what you run 3 marches when you have Philip. If you want to go like full smite, I don't necessarily recommend this, but a lot of people like to do this. This is a good combination, and I found it to work when I had 2 smite commanders. When you run like an Attila Takeda in the field and you put a burn effect from Takeda on the target you're hitting, and you run a whole bunch of smite commanders, it really does well. It's a very unique way to run your marches, but it really, really does well. But you run this with 3 Pincers, and you're running 5 high damage smite marches, or 5 high damage smite commanders with 3 marches, it can be really, really good. Now, I don't know if you go to the Mayan civilization and next thing you know, you're trying to figure this out as far as running up your normal damage as much as you can. But I will say this, that is something that you could look at doing. Shajar is good to run with this. If you're just purely trying to buff your smite marches, Takeda's great. Chandragupta's great, running the exhaust effect. Shajar is great, running the normal damage bonus. I don't recommend it, but you can do it, okay? So down here, we have the 2X. So this is unlimited 2X. The best 2 infantry marches you could run, BQ with Luce and Ragnar with Skippy. Just easy, set it and forget it. 2 of the best marches you could run in the game. It's so good. I think you run this no problem. If you have 2, and so this is another thing that's happening. Some people don't have Ragnar. Some people don't run Ragnar. Okay, they're either still working with a Guan CPO or they've decided to go full smite. But so if you don't have Ragnar, I get asked this all the time. I don't have Ragnar. What do I do? You run BQ Wallace, and then I run either one of these. I preferably would run Philip with Luce if Philip's available. If not, just run Luce with Alex. Run 2 Pincer formations. Completely get rid of your wedge stuff for infantry. You're going to bench CPO. He's getting old, and Ragnar's the one that carries him really in the field. And those are the 2 marches that you run. Okay, and so with that, if you just have 1 march, if you're saying what's the best infantry march I can get? It's BQ Luce, hands down. This march right here is going to be the best march in the game for the time being. Too much damage. I mean, look at this. The outpouring of damage that this march does is absolutely wild, because we know what Luce does, right? We know he does massive 2250 damage factor to 5 targets. Okay, he also is great at slowing troops that are hit by this skill lose 40% march speed. He's great at slowing down opponents. We all know about his kit. It's busted good. He's got the extra procs over here. He's ramping up normal damage bonuses, all kinds of stuff. Well, you go put BQ with him, and we're on a whole nother level. That's literally like putting 2 of the meta AoE high damage commanders together, and it does crazy stuff. Heat BQ will do even more damage. Of course, we've talked about it. When he loses troops, he's ramping up more malice effects and those stacks, and at the same time, he gets buffs when you're losing troops. This will be the best march in the game, hands down. Like, I don't even think it's close. And so that is what you're going to run if you just run one infantry march. BQ, Luce, set it and forget it. Okay. If you're going to run an infantry march, and pretty much everybody has LC, but if you're going to say, hey, what are the best infantry marches, just hands down, what are the best? It's going to be BQ LC, it's going to be BQ with Wallace, and it's going to be Wallace with LC. Those are the 3 best you could run. Okay, because the Pincer formation has elevated those to levels that just blow your mind. Pincer formation, and you've seen my videos on it, it is so out of control broken that it has elevated Wallace to where you can run him with Luce or BQ, and it's just going to do so much freaking damage. Okay, so these are kind of the best marches you could run. I love Luce Philip, of course. Then I put Ragnar CPO kind of back here. Okay, it's still good. It's great, but I would not put Ragnar CPO ahead of any of this stuff. I would just not do it. Okay, then I put Luce Alex back here. I do think Ragnar CPO runs a little better than Luce Alex. You could easily just do it like that. It doesn't really matter either way. And then I would put BQ Philip here. Now, BQ Philip is not ideal because you're not necessarily ramping up more chances for Philip to proc his instant procs like you do with Luce, but it's still really, really potent. And then at the same time, I think do I have a Ragnar Philip? You could put Ragnar Philip over here as well. Okay, so Ragnar Philip is okay when you're running just a 1 troop, the best 1 troop infantry marches. That's just kind of the best of the best right there, the ranking of it. Here is your Guan pairings. Guan is still out there. If you're in a situation where you're in a KVK and you want to run Ragnar with Philip, then you can still run Guan CPO. I did it last KVK. It still does okay. If you want to run Guan with Ragnar and you want to put CPO in an artifact KVK, go put CPO behind Joan, or go put him behind Ash or something like that in an artifact KVK. You can run Ragnar behind Guan. Guan Philip is okay. The double cast of silence is great that Philip does. And in Canyon, this is very, very common. You can run that in the field. And then, oh my God, if you're down to this, you're in trouble. Guan Sargon, this is not what I would want to run. But these are kind of your Guan step-ins, if you will, your gap fillers. Guan is still serviceable. He's not great. He's not going to trade amazing, but you're able to use him in some of those facets, okay? So with that being said, let's go down to the K2 situation, or the K1 situation. So if you're in KVK1, okay, and you're pretty limited on your infantry. However, it is very easy to get infantry gear, okay, with Shio's Return and the Eternal Night Greaves that you're able to get in the KVK Lost Canyon shop. You're able to get a print of those things. It is very, very easy to do that. And K1, I'm just telling you, you go max a YSG with a Martel in the field. It is so freaking good. Martel is great in the field. He does the 40% damage bonus that he gives from his expertise. Then you put a hard hitter behind him, and K1, it doesn't get any hard hitting than YSG, and also it doesn't get any hard hitting than Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu is amazing in KVK1. Everybody's got to max him. He's easy to max, and he is wonderful to get when it comes to field marches in KVK1. He is the KVK1 MVP. Sun Tzu is so freaking good. He's an epic commander, but it doesn't matter. His expertise is great. He does not have a mitigation on the damage. You know, when he hits 5 targets of 1,000 damage factor, that damage factor doesn't go down. That's just true 1,000 damage factor for 5 targets, and you don't get that 15% nerf. Okay, you got Pyrrhus with Sun Tzu is great. Bjorn with Sun Tzu is great. Martel with Bjorn is great. So these are kind of your good, hard-hitting infantry marches you can use for K1. Then your buffing marches are over here with Richard and Ethel. Ethel does the debuff on 5 targets. It's amazing. She also does some damage there. You can sometimes run Ethel behind Martel, and that's fine too. But this is really, really good for doing the debuff on the target, plus debuffing from Ethel. You got Richard's debuff going on. It's great. This is more of a buffing march. You got the debuff from Richard going on with the rage buff and all the stat buffs that Joan Epic gives us. So Epic Joan is really, really good to run those buffs with Richard. I always try to run, 3 infantry marches for KVK1. That would be ideal. I would run Martel YSG. I'd go put either Pyrrhus. If I can't get Pyrrhus maxed, I would run Bjorn with Sun Tzu, and then I would run Richard and Ethel. And then I would find another place to put my Joan, or I would run Richard and Joan, and I'd go put my Ethel behind Martel. I'd make my YSG go with archers, because now you have Thutmose and you have these other archers in KVK1. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can do that. Once you go to K2, this is the introduction of Alex. Okay, Alex is really, really freaking good with Constantine. Now, Constantine is more of a garrison commander. However, he's very serviceable in the field. And so when you see this overall, when you're trying to figure out with Constantine what he can do in the field, he's a great buffing march. He gives a ton of health to a bunch of different marches. And so when you add this, Alex Sun Tzu, amazing march, absolutely amazing. Alex YSG, amazing. And then you get into the same stuff of KVK1 here, and these are the marches that you can run. But Alex YSG is amazing. Alex Sun Tzu is amazing. And then when you get to the buffing marches, now you can add Constantine. Like if you go run a 4 infantry march in KVK2, and you run that with Alex YSG and then Martel Sun Tzu, or switch it and run Alex Sun Tzu and Martel YSG, you got 2 high damage marches. And then maybe you run a cavalry march with that. Well, then from there, you can switch these 2 around. You could run a Constantine Joan and then a Richard Ethel, or you can run a Constantine Ethel, then a Richard Joan. However you want to do that. I generally like to put in that situation between trying to choose between 2 buffing marches like this with Constantine and Richard. I would rather put Ethel with Richard. Richard's got a little bit more attack than Constantine does, but either way is fine. Completely fine. So that's kind of your KVK2 situation when it comes to infantry. This is wild. And just to review how this thing works, 3 infantry marches were unheard of in the end game. Like, you don't run 3 infantry marches. You don't have enough. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to run CJ and Sargon? Why would you run 3 infantry marches? Now, with the Pincer formation and with BQ coming in the game, and how Pincer formation has helped elevate William Wallace, you can run 3 infantry marches easy. And so there's your roundabout way of how to do that. You're running 3 marches with no Philip. That's the situation you get into. Run Luce with Alex. You run 3 marches with Philip, put in Philip for Alex, and run Luce Philip. You run 3 full smite. Ew, that is wild. But there's components and ways to do that. You run 2 infantry marches. This is the way to go. This is going to be the most common things people play. They run 2 infantry marches, and they run BQ with LC, which this will be the best march in the game, in my opinion, and then Ragnar with CPO, and you just run it like that. If you have Wallace, go ahead and bench him at that point. And if you have Alex, don't worry about running him. This is going to do so much better. Then you can go put your Philip with Zuge. You can go put your Philip with Arthur or Attila, or whatever you want to do with your Philip. You can do whatever. But if you have no Ragnar now on a 2-march setup, you're going to want to run BQ with Wallace, and then you bring in your Alex and your Philip, and you move Luce over there, and you don't run a active skill or a wedge skill damage march. You just don't do it. You run 2 Pincer marches, and you either run it BQ with Wallace and Luce Alex, or BQ with Wallace and Luce with Philip, depending on what you want to do with your Philip. And then if you got your best marches, this is it. This is it. I think these are the best marches that you could absolutely get in infantry. Ranked, you can argue the place of the rankings, but this is going to be the best. This could go this way, or this could go this way, but I think BQ with Wallace, with all the smite and all the different things, is going to perform better than Wallace Luce. I think Luce with Philip and then Luce with Alex is going to be right there behind. And then I think you get into the value of your wedge commanders. And then from there, you bring in some Philip situations with BQ and Ragnar. And then, of course, we went through the Guan stuff. We went through the KVK 1 and 2 stuff. And that, my friends, is how to do your infantry setup when it comes to field meta and when it comes to trying to get the best infantry marches in the field. We're excited about it. You know, archers had a heyday for a long time. Cavalry has been wrecking it, you know, for the past year, really. And now infantry, it is their time. Yeah, I'm just telling you, it is their time in the field, not just in garrison, not just in rally, but in the field. They have the formation to do the damage. That's really enhanced everything. And now they got the commanders, and it is wild. So if you enjoyed the video, throw a thumbs up on it, like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Join my community in the Discord. It's where a lot of these conversations come into play. It's where a lot of the ideas of videos comes into play. I love the community and can't appreciate everybody for how much support we have gotten. I love you guys, and I love the game, and I love putting out that content. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you, broskies.